let me once again the thanks everyone. So this webinar is just basically on the because how the migration APIs work, and this is new, like how the SharePoint Online migration APIs work when we have a content on the on-premises and the network drive or the file shares, and how we can move the content to the OneDrive or from on-premises to the online. So this is basically agenda. So my introduction, as Vignesh told, so Manoj Mittal, working as a technical architect at the Mindtree Limited. Did a couple of certifications, and below is my blog sites. So just writing the couple of blogs. If anyone is interested in, can join that one also. Okay, just not taking so much time. Just moving to the agenda here. So agenda is quite simple. I just kept here so that we have. I'll just give the take a very few minutes on this. Describe what's the manual approach and for doing the migrations, and what are the options available for the manual migrations, tool-based approach, and then I'll just move to that is the main agenda, how the online migration APIs work. And after that, it's a very important point when we are giving the estimations of the migration. So what we lacked at the time of the pre-sales or doing the giving the estimations to the customer. So how we can analyze the estimation, what type of content we have, just give the high level overview on that also. And then how the document versioning impact, so that one. And after doing the migrations, so usually we heard a lot of users in the organizations who is having a multiple domains. They start complaining, I was able to access the old site, but on the new site I was not able to access. So that is also the quite few projects we face the challenges, and how to resolve those challenges I will just discuss on top of that also. Okay, so moving to the next slide. So this is if we're moving to the manual approach. So this is a very typical manual approach when we are moving from the one environment to the other environment, and it's like quite costly also, depend on the customer is having a licensing for all the versions. So we'll take example like if we have a MOS 2007 and we need to migrate into the SP 2013 or SP 2016. So there is no direct way in the manual approach. We need to go via all the versions, and we need to prepare the systems ready. If business is not having, need to install the proper software and need to do the all updates on that. Like if we have a MOS 2007, so this is like our just practice or like what we observed during the couple of projects. If we have 50 to 60 GB of content, it exists on the one environment. And what are the couple of activity exists? Need to take the backup of the database, that is the content DB, and then copy the particular backup file from the one environment to the another files, like moving to the SharePoint MOS 2007 to the 2010, and then need to do the copy and site upgrades, user upgrades, that's the user migrations. Like if the MOS 2007 having a classic base, moving to the claim base, mounting the database as the next environment. It approximately take the 4 to 5 hours on one environment to the another environment. And the major limitations is like we need to business need to provide the licensing and the cost for all the servers in the environment. Okay, moving to the like tool base. So tool has their own limitations, or we can say it's having their own cost. So depend on the projects also, what type of migrations activity comes and what type of projects we have. Our customer really paying the amount of the cost. If we're going with the ShareGates, Metalogic, it's approximately for 5K for the one users. Multiple users, we are going to involve multiple license, multiple cost comes. So the free versions also available for till some limit we can migrate, but sometimes the customer are not ready to buy on their production environment or not ready to go ahead with those options. But tool is quite helpful also in doing the analysis of the pre-migrations, post-migrations, and incremental approaches. So this is just a high-level approach. I'll just take one more slides here. So we did in a couple of migrations. So this is also the one of the migrations we did, that is a manual migration. So that is why we use this STP files movement. That is also not supported in most of the cases, but very simple projects if come like businesses, small organizations who are having like 100 to 200 users and not having a huge content. So this is also the options, like if they are not using publishing sites, just take the STP file in the logical orders. If you need to maintain the lookup columns and all, and upload into the SharePoint Online sites, and we can start using. Or Excel file also is there, but the limit, again, like copy paste of the content from Excel to the SharePoint list data sheet view, that is again that 100 items. And even the document library also we can upload the 100 item, but again, like depend on the what the business is ready to pay for the license, or like one person will sit and do all the jobs in a 1 day or 2 days. So this was just an overview. This was not basically agenda. So that was the covering point. What are the options available for the migrations? So coming to the main point or main agenda, how the migration APIs work. Okay, if anyone have any question, just feel free to ask or just put into the chat window. I'm very happy to just respond on that. Okay, so this is like, what is the prerequisite of doing the SharePoint Online migration APIs? So this is the first, like, SharePoint Online migration API. I'll just give the idea how it's work. It just take the content from the on-premises, converting into the packages which is required for the target sites, and then put onto the Azure on the temporary locations for the temporary purpose. So the cost comes for that, but it's very minimal for the storage cost. And once the queue or the job started, that's our activity done. The PowerShell exists, we can remove the jobs, remove the content, and come back to our original state. So the cost here is just for the storage point of view. What we need, we should have a Azure subscriptions. We should have a Azure storage account. We should have a O365 account. And last, we should have a SharePoint Online management shell. So that will help to run the scripts on that. Okay. So this is the main slide. So I'll explain. If I'm going a little bit fast, so just feel free to stop me also at any point of place. So this is the process flow, how this entire approach work, how the packaging flows, how the content flows from the on-premises to online, what are the contents and what are the areas available. If you can see the source, if we have a source is like nothing we have where SharePoint Online content exists for us, and the SharePoint or like the file share if you need to content data into the OneDrive or a network share drive path, anything it can be. SharePoint Online, we need to use the SP export, export SP web commands to download the content. So that will become the SharePoint Online content for us. And once we have a content, so we need to, what our APIs does, then the migration APIs come into the picture. It's create their own package. So in which format the package comes, it's create the package into the two type of the files comes. One is a DAT files, so which is having a small file which is having a logical relationship between each other, and the second one is having an XML file which, sorry, anyone have any question? Okay, so we proceed. So package just is having a, I'll just showcase all those things, how it's work with a demo. I'm just giving the explanations here. So how the package files work. So package is having a DAT files and the XML file. XML file is having XML tag, which is having just a relationships among the content. And once we are ready with the package, so again, we run one more command. It just push the content from the on-premises folder structures to the Azure temporary storage location, just like a temporary holding place, which is having a container. So basically we have two containers, one for a file and one for the package, split the data into the two ways. So once the Azure is having a data, so after that we just run some more scripts. So this script, what it does, it just create a job for us, and job is having a multiple parallel running activities. So once we have a job, we just submit the package, and based on the jobs, it just start taking the data from the Azure blob storage and just pushing into the required target path, whether we have a OneDrive or we have a SharePoint Online. So this is just a high level overview how this packages work.
So Manoj, what kind of data it can migrate? I mean, from SharePoint on-premise. Is this something you're going to cover next in next slides, or?
Yeah, I have a demo for that. I'll just showcase a proper demo. So I'll just log into the SharePoint on-premises sites and the file shares and migrate the data from on-premises to online and the file share to OneDrive also. I will showcase both the demos. So after this is after this slides only. So that will be more helpful to understand. This is just I'm giving the high level overview how this APIs work. So you will get a, if like you understand 5%, 10%, it will be very helpful for the next demo slides.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a few PowerShell commands which we need to run into the SharePoint Online Management Shell. If we are dealing with a SharePoint on-premises, so from the SharePoint on-premises, we have a list or libraries. We need to export the data using the SP export command into our normal SharePoint 2013 PowerShell or management shell like that. After that, the commands comes for the new SPO migration package. So these are the 4 commands basically we need to use with some parameters, nothing else. It's a very straightforward activity. So the new SPO migration package, I'll just give what it does. Actually, this command we need to use into the online when we are using from the file share to the OneDrive. So what it does, it's create the package based on the what is required for the target locations, or before the target location, it just take the data from the file shares, convert into the package, which means convert into the DAT and XML files. And after that, we have a third one like convert to SPO. Okay, so the next one is convert to SPO migration target package. So from here we have a common XML, common PowerShell scripting. So these 3 is common for the SharePoint online migrations or the OneDrive migrations. So what it does, what the package we have, so it just convert the package into the required target site format only. So this is again like the same data and XML file, showcase that one. And this is the like the SPO package migration. It just create the containers on the Azure Blob Storage, so as we discussed earlier. And the last one is just, it just generate the queue, and that queues is just running by the timer jobs, and it just start invoking the content from the blob storage and start pushing into the required specified locations, whether OneDrive or SharePoint Online. So the basic, what the beauty of this SharePoint Online management shell commands, it preserves the metadata. So metadata in the terms of we have a timestamps, author, modified by. So these type of metadata, it's really preserved, versionings of the documents, taxonomy. So all such things, it's really helpful to preserve. And if you see the tool point of view, if you talk about the SharePoint tool, ShareGate tools and the MetaLogic. So internally, ShareGate tool also use these APIs. So if you study more detail about the how these APIs work with the tool, so tool is having a 2 mode when we configure the tool. So that is, one is a insane mode, another is a normal mode. So insane mode basically use the same scripts what Microsoft has exposed to the normally for the other developers we can use. Or normal mode is like how they are doing the one-to-one mapping with a CSOMS activity and start uploading the content. But by default, insane mode is enabled on all the ShareGate tools. Okay, so this was just all about the theories.
One more question, sorry. You said it's going to maintain the metadata like taxonomy. So how does it maintain taxonomy columns? Because in the destination, we might not have those terms and term sets.
Yeah. See, so I'll just explain how this API is also work. So this API is not, we can't expect like it's working on the site level. It just work on the list or library levels actually. So if the taxonomy we have created at a site collection level, so that taxonomy we need to create, and after that we can start our process. So it just take those ID. Once it create the packages also, we have a manifest.xml file. It's having a huge relationships there. If any GUIDs or anything change, like this taxonomy is one of the field. Like we have a users also. So the on-premise is having a different users, and on the online having a different users. So that also we can modify in our XML files, and we can just push it. So that will also start working.
So that in XML mapping file, we have to manage that user-to-user mapping and taxonomy to taxonomy.
That is, yeah, that's need to do. That is a prerequisite. Yep.
All right. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks. So here, just moving to the demo part, not taking more time, how the SharePoint on-premises to the online migrations using the SharePoint Online APIs and the file share or the network to the OneDrive APIs. So I'm moving to my virtual machines here quickly. Okay. So before that, I'll just explain. So this is just Azure portal. What I created. It's like under the free subscriptions only I just created. So I have a one VM here. So this VM is nothing like I installed the SharePoint 2013 with all the required software prerequisites as point of view. And after that, 1 minute, let me close it. Okay, so what I did, I created my storage account here. So this storage account is nothing. Okay, so I have a blob storage, files, tables, and queue. These are the 4 storage accounts come with a Azure portal by default. So for us, what is required? The blob storage. So here I have nothing, it's a blank. The runtime, I can create the containers. Containers is nothing, just like holding the content for me. What we have, we can create from here also, or we can create from the PowerShell scripts. I will create with the PowerShell scripts. Both options are available. And after that, we have a queues. So it just generate the queue for me. So using the PowerShells, my queue will come. It will just start invoking the content and moving to the SharePoint Online. So this is the portal, and this is just a SharePoint Online team sites we have. So here I am going to, okay. So I'll just showcase that one later. So before that, I'm just moving.
Sorry, one more question. So is it necessary to have our own Azure, or it can use the tenancy Azure as well? Because I tried doing this using PowerShell, and it did use the default Azure of the tenancy itself.
Yeah, because for this, on its own not required. What is required here, this access key is important for us. On base of this access key, all the keys start running. So this is only required. So our tenancy is not really required for that. We can use. Nothing is like this. This Azure we are just using for the storage purpose only. Nothing else is required. The same account it should.
But I remember, maybe I might be wrong, but I remember I did that migration, just a test migration from local storage to SharePoint Online using PowerShell command, using SharePoint Online command, and it did not ask for this key and string. I don't know how it did. I just don't remember. Sorry, but okay. I read somewhere that it's using the default tenancy Azure as well temporarily.
Okay.
So my question is, or is there any difference between our own Azure and the default Azure they use, or?
Okay, I'll just showcase. So earlier might be when you tried this one. So there are 2 options exist. If we there's a couple of articles there for using the on-premises to the online or the OneDrive. There is a this Azure subscriptions way of going. Another is if you don't have a Azure subscriptions, if you have a O365, so that also having an import feature. So that also we can use. So are we talking about that Office 365 import features? Or we'll go ahead, I will just showcase you that one. We'll discuss on that more. Is it fine?
A small question from my side. Yeah, this is Ravi.
Yep, Ravi.
Actually, from last week I tried for the same from 2010 to I'm trying for online. So where I have stuck is exactly Azure. So I've done the first 3 steps, but when I'm going for the Azure to take my data, but it is saying that it is still processing only. I'm seeing in the admin center. So is it any access related issue for my account, or else because I am an admin for for SharePoint Online?
So did you check any error or warnings in the queuing sites? Because once the queue generated.
Okay, no, I didn't see any warnings or anything. It is saying that means if I go to portal this thing, it is still rotating only.
Okay, so frankly, I will say at 2010 I didn't try, but usually the errors, whenever the errors occur, so when you click on the queue, it will just open the window. It will show all the error messages or warning messages. If it's any of the queues stuck for the .error messages, so like it will show the proper IDs. You need to resolve it, otherwise it will not work. So I will showcase how the queues generate, where you can see the warning message and the queues showcase. Okay, I'll just yeah. I'll quickly move. Hope you can see my VMs also.
Yes, Manoj, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So this is a SharePoint 2013 normal sites. It just has the team sites we have created. I have a document library here I created. It's a content library. Under that, I have pushed couple of folder structures. So if you see, this Microsoft Flow is a folder structures, couple of, again, like we have a couple of folders, part 1, part 2, and each is having some images and the documents. So what I created, so it's have you can see the dates and the time frames also here. And okay, so just what I will do, I will just take the content, this Microsoft, sorry, not Flow, this is the content library, content lib, and just showcase how we are going to migrate into the SharePoint Online. Okay, so before that, I'll just create some folders which is required for me. Anyway, I have created already for that. So we'll just I just created C temp folder, and temp folder I have a on-premises folder just for, I just created a 2 blank folder. Nothing is in any of the folder, it's just a blank. One is the on-premises. Here also, like nothing is output package. I'll explain what is required, so what is the use of this output package. So this is the important for me on-premises path here. So I'm going to SharePoint 2013 management shell. Okay. Yep, it's came. I'll just write the export command here. Export sp web. We have not this one. Export sp web. I have hyphen identity. Just take the URLs of my site. So the URL I have this one. Okay, just pasted the URL. Okay, so just work on the item level URLs need to give which library I'm going to work. So item URLs we have. So need to give the relative path. So this is the sites. Again, we have a team site. Again, which what is my document library name, content lib. So that is done. After that, we need to give the path. So where it should store the content. So I will take this path on premises, just here this path only. So it will create the folder with the name of content lib only. Okay, so create same folder content lib. Okay, so that is done. So no file compressions. Basically, it's the best practices to use the no file compressions mode. It just increase the performance while doing this activity. And we'll use the include all version. This is also the best part of best practices. We can use the include versions. Default is like 1, 2, 3, 4, or all contains all minor or major versions. Basically, I just clicked enter here. So let's see what happened. Just take a couple of seconds to create the package. You can see on the screen. So the folders start coming. It's just having a dat files and XML file. 7 XML file will start coming. So just take all the content what we have in our document library. Process done very fast. Okay, great. So now this SharePoint 2013 management shell activity has done. So that is not required for me. I just close it. So this we got. Now the SharePoint Online management shell will use SharePoint Online management shell. I'm going to log in. I'll just create a few variables which is required for me. Just start typing, will explain you also, like the username. So what usernames I'm going to use under for my subscription, what I have, Manoj @ SharePoint times dot on Microsoft.com. So this is my username I'm using. So just need to take the credentials for that. We have credentials, get hyphen credentials. Okay, I just provide the username what I created. So it will just prompt. I can just cross check whether I typed it wrong or not, because most of the time this gives the error at the end. SharePoint times not on Microsoft, absolutely right. I'll just give my password here. Yep, that is done. So now I just need to create a variable. What is my source file and source package? So for this content, the two things is important. What is my file path? What is my package path? If you see this one, the .dat is just like a files. After that, what we have, all XML file is called a package. So as of now, I have a one folder only. So for me, the source and package is same. So I will use the same for the both. I'll just take this one, Control C. I'll use those variable later in the commands. I have a source file, source file. Let's just set the variable here, source file. So this is my source file. Similarly, I have a package file, source package, you can say. Source package. So it's the same for me, package and the file are same. So if you have a source and package file, so what that other folders I created output package file. So my command, what it will do, it will just take the all XML files and put into that folder. So that will be the target package folder for me. I'll create a variable folder for that. Also output package path. Output package. So we have output package path here. Okay. So this is also done. After that, what we required for the first initial command, we should have a target web URLs or the document library URLs. So we can just type the target target.
Sir, once you're done specifying all the variables, could you just kind of explain that once again so that we understand what those variables which you said,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So just two variables is required. Let me create that one. I will explain it once more. That one. So okay. Before that, I just like a username I just gave, and the credentials. I just got the $cred is got my credentials. What is required to log into the online to my commands. After that, I just created the source files and the source package. Source file and source package is nothing where my own premises or the file share content exist. So that's why it's the same for me, but it's required for the using command. And output package path is nothing. It will just take what the source package file is, source package folder have a content. It will just take all the XML file and convert into the required format. So this is the output package files. After that, we need a target web URLs where we are going to upload the content and what is the library name. Okay.
Can you also expand your window so the management still window? So looks like audiences are facing trouble. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So is it fine? Okay. Is it fine now?
So Manoj, the source package, what is it supposed to do? Like, is it like the path of the folder where the XML is?
See, source package, source package for me, what is the package? I'll just go back again to the content lib. So this folder is having the file and package. If you see the .dat file, so this is nothing like have all the content in the logical relationship format is there. And this is the XML file. This is the package for us. If you open any of the manifest file, okay, so I'll just search for any of the content what I have. So like no your SharePoint multi-serve. If I search here, no, so you can see all the relationship of all the files. It exists. So this is a relationship of all the schemas type of things is there. Okay, so these are the package files.
Okay. So source file. Sorry.
Yeah.
Source file is like the .dat file, and the source package is the path where the manifest.xml. So is it looking for any specific file name inside the folder?
No, nothing. So it's not looking any of the file. The why it's required, we need for our processing point of view, because once we got the DAT and the XML file, so again the scripts, it will take this file, this folder as a base and convert into the required format. Script will not use this DAT file and XML file as is, because these files we have created using the on-premises, and same can be from the file share also, where we have a doc and XML file, that also we need to generate the same DAT file. After that, scripts will convert the file where it will go to the Azure and what is required for the target URLs or the documents or what we are using the online on OneDrive. Not looking for any of the
Microsoft Online shell will the command of Microsoft Online SharePoint Online will do that.
Absolutely right. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so welcome. So moving to this is my SharePoint Online team sites I just created here. Just giving the path for that. Just creating the variable for the target web URL.
And Manoj sir, so one more request on the chat. So our audiences, they want you to just put all those variables which you declared in maybe in a PPT or something, and if you can just explain them once again. Looks like they're not able to see your screen. Just copy and put it in a PowerPoint and show it to them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Sure, sure. I'll do. So, so only the one things what we need to take care here. We need to create the, if we are migrating that particular library, so it doesn't work with a schema. Schema should be in place where we are going to migrate on the SharePoint Online. If we have a schema, so it just migrate the content. It doesn't create a schema for us. So that this content lib, what I created there, content library. So same I need to create here. Let me delete this existing content that I just used for the before the demo. Okay, file moves. So I just enable the versionings what we have. The same schema need to create here. So in the SharePoint Online, I just created the content library, same structures here. So this is my library path. Just take it as this. So I'll just give this one target library. We have target library. Okay. So till now we are okay with all the things. Okay, great. So for this point of view, I have just wrote in the, let me make it big also here. Format, I'll just make it 18. Okay, hope it's visible here. Okay, so this is the export command I used. So this export command is nothing like just take the data from the on-premises sites. I just provided the item level. What is the library or list level? That path need to define here. After that, we are just taking the path where my DAT and XML file we are going to store, what we are going to export. And this is just like no file compressions and the include versions, just for the performance point of view as a best practices. Include versions, basically if we need to export all the versions, accordingly we can define the parameters. So the username I just use, what is the username I need to upload when I need to upload the content to the online credentials, it will just take. Source file, it's just nothing like when I just download it into the content library. So this is the path, because for me, once it downloaded.
One moment, Manoj.
Yep, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, we don't require any user permissions. You haven't include user permission.
No, user should be a site collection administrator.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, so just repeating those variables what I created. So after that we'll go ahead. So this is the source file for once I created the folders for my export library. It should have a, for me it's the same file and package, so I give the same. So output package path, so this is required when we convert the package into the desired format. So for that purpose we use this variable. So after that, just nothing, we need the URL, what is the SharePoint Online site URLs, and which is the library name. So that's it, it's there. After that we'll just move to the yeah, this is the important command. So what it does actually, convert to I'll just type that one, it's important. I'll explain here only. So the convert to SharePoint Online migration target package. So it just convert the command into what the previous file we have and what we created using the export SP web. It just convert into the desired format into what is required for the target web. So target web is nothing for us. This is the target web URL. So it just need convert to SPO migration target package. Source file path, what I have declared here. Source package path is also the same. After that we need output package path. So from that folder content library I created, it will take the XML files and push into the here. It will not delete, it will just copy paste the files and just need the target web and the target document library. Nothing else. I just start typing these commands. It will be helpful. Convert to SPO online migration. Yep, convert SPO migration target package. After that we need the source file path. So I have variable, so that is the source file. I need to pass the source package path. So that we have source package path. 1 minute, spelling mistake. Source package path. Yep. So the next we have target web URL. Target web URL. So package variable I have target web URL. Next, we need a document library where we are going to store the content, in which format accordingly it will just create the package. So we have library path I created above. It's a library, target library. It's a target library. Yep. So I just need to give the credentials. So this is like also I have created credentials for this is done. Oh, cannot resolve the specified line parameter, something issue. Okay, let me copy paste.
Manoj, one second. Just copy
Yep.
here. Do you mind using PowerShell IAC instead of this management shell, because that will give more clarity.
No, PowerShell is this is the online management shell only required for that.
So
PowerShell will not
don't
work
have online PowerShell online we can use.
That I don't have
I
that
think
one.
you can use.
Okay.
I have used it. Okay, anyway, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine if we are used to it. Yeah.
Manoj, are there this is all the parameters we can pass, or is there any other settings in this?
No, this is the only way we can pass the parameters.
Any configuration, anything we can do, like, so this is going to convert the that files into the required packages for SharePoint Online, right?
Absolutely right. Yep. No other settings is required. It's just a commands with some parameters. That's it.
So it's going to put it in the output folder, right?
Yep, I'll show you. So now we'll move to the output. So we'll see here the same all XML files we have. 7 XML file it exists here. It's came. So what we have in content link, you see here, same all export settings manifest required. It's just putting the file in the required format here. Okay.
And the .dat file that is still in the source path only, right?
Yeah, we'll use the .dat path for pushing into the Azure Blob Storage. We'll use that same path. That file exists is there only. Correct. So the next command for us. So till now, what we did, we just created the package in which format the target web is required, and it is ready to move the content to the online storage. So now I will just write the command. It will move the package and the .dat file into the online storage accounts and create the containers for me. So now moving, I'll just explain you that one also. Let me take out. Okay. So this is I'll just create some variables for you. I just created some variables. So the file containers name, we can give the very file containers name, package container names. It's not mandatory. So like if we are giving, it will create the container for us with this particular name. If you are not giving, it will just create some GUID in the system, and we can see what's the GUID. It's just easy to understandable format. I just created the file containers name. It's a file 01. We can give anything ABC. Package containers name, package 01. You can give that also ABC. Azure account name, it's an online storage account. What we have, it should be the same. If you see here, so this is my Azure account name. You can say I'll close it. Yep. So this is my online Azure storage. So this is the online storage account name. So the same variables need to use here. And this is the access Azure account key. So this key is nothing. So we need, as I just talked earlier also for that. Let me move there. Access key we have. So this is the just access key. I just use here, copy paste. So I use those keys. And this is also the queue. It's also not required. We can just give anything. I just give any ABC name we can give here or anything. Okay. So after that, this variable is required for the next command when we are going to submit the job for the queue point of view. So before that, what we are going to do, we are just using the set SPO migration package. So this package will take the .dat files and the XML files and put to the blob storage in the specified container for us. So what are the parameters required for that? The source file name. So the source file name is nothing where we have a dat file. It's still pointing to the first one, content library, same variable I used here. Source package is also the same. Source package where we have created the new output package path. So it just I changed here. This is my source package now. And here we are giving the names of our file containers name, package containers name. What is the package? These two, both the fields, both the variables are optional, so not required as such. Azure account name, and this is the important one, Azure account key. We can override, and the Azure queue name, what the queue name variable we have created. Okay, I'll just quickly run this command instead of typing. We can create any variable for that.
Manu, small query from my side. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
What do you mean by Azure account name? It is means so now I am running the management shell using admin. Admin means run as administrator. So and everything I am using with my ID, right? Means site collection administrator, right?
Yeah.
So what is the Azure account name? It is created in the Azure only, or else it is a user specific?
See, Azure account name is nothing where we are going to upload the content in the blob storage. So this is nothing like the storage account what you are going to create into the Azure. So if you see here under my storage, if I show you, so here we can create the storage. Okay, under the storage, you can create any storage account. Okay, if I go here and just add any storage name with the ABC, we can create. Okay, we can just, so because this goes for a cost, resource locations, and all these parameters need to define. So similarly, I created with the online Azure storage. So you can create with the name of ABC. So this is the Azure account name where we are going to push the file and the packages.
Okay. Some storage we have to need some storage with some name that has to be allocated.
Definitely, because this storage is only having this type of storage, the blob and the queue systems. So we need to place the file somewhere.
Okay, so we need those details, subscription means ID and everything.
Yeah, so that is the only, yes, so that is only the cost come into the picture while using those APIs. Otherwise, there is no cost. The free APIs we can use.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm just using. Welcome. So I'm just using this command here as this. Oh, very nice. Some variables differences. What is this?
I think you didn't created those variables which are there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, makes sense. Thanks for helping. I just created the variables here. I'm just using this command here. Control C.
And sir, so we have a question here. So what do you think is the maximum package size that we can migrate? So is there any restriction or?
Yep, it's a restriction. So as for the limitations or the documentation by Microsoft, I will just go through that one on the last slide. So there's a 2 GB is a limitation.
Okay.
And we can create a multiple package and multiple file. In Azure storage also having their own limitations. It's like 500 terabytes.
Okay.
That also I will show you.
Sure.
Okay, so it's created for me the containers. If you can see the URLs for the package containers. So we can go to the Azure subscriptions, my storage account. I'll just refresh it. Yeah, so I got the 2 containers here. So the file containers, so it's all the content from the file systems move to the Azure. You can see here all the dat files, package files. You can see all the XML file exist here. Okay, so it is there. We'll go to the queue and we'll just quickly check for the queue also, how our queue is there. So it just created the queue for me, but nothing else is here. So after the next command, it will initiate the queues. Moving to my folders again, Azure machines. So now we need to submit the job. What this will do, this will just it will just send a message to the queue and just create some queues for me, and internally timer jobs will run, start taking the data from the blob storage and putting to the online environment. I'll just explain this one. So this is the normal standard command, submit SPO migration job. After that, what we need here maximum, it's just a target web URL for which URL it will work. And this migration package Azure location. So this is nothing what we ran at the earlier. So it just take this variable. So that's why we created the variable here. All the required parameters will take it from here. Apart from that, it's just a credentials we have, nothing else. Okay, I'm just going here, Control C, and then just running the command here. It's a quite straightforward command. It is done almost. So it's done. So it just created the queue. Before that, moving to the Azure, I will just run this command. This just give me the status. It's nothing get SPO migration job status, where my job it is. So it's just showing the job status is a processing. So my job is started working. If I refresh this, my queue will show the queues has generated for me. Yep. I'll just move. So you can see the queues here. So the one questions came here in the quite early stage. Where we can see the errors and the log. So here you can see the job errors and job warnings. And there is a couple of PowerShell scripts also. We can extract those messages. But this is not like very generic message they are giving. It's not like it's hard to understand those ones, but we need to understand while opening those things only. So like it just created the multiple jobs for me. It's under one queue. Start moving the content now. If I go to my SharePoint Online site library, see, you can see that now the content has started coming here. So this is the Microsoft flow, all content came, and you can see the metadata also. When I created the data into the SharePoint on premises, that is a Thursday. So today is like Saturday. So it's preserved those activities also for me. If you see the folder, all data exists. So it's came here. Okay.
Hey Manoj, Pratik here. One small question. So does it migrate even the item level permissions if they are there on any item, if it's a broken permission?
Hopefully it should work. I am really like, I didn't try that activity, but because item level is not recommended in the industry, so might be the some is there. But what challenges I feel can come there, the user doesn't, might be those user doesn't exist, or user has left the organizations where we have given the item level permissions, might be on the item or the folder level. So before taking care of those activity, we need to, I'll show the XML file. So what we have, this output file, this manifest.xml file, we need to read carefully. So here we can change the content type, all the users also. So everything is exist here. Settings here, dependencies, somewhere the users also exist. Let me take user groups. So we need to log into all the, if we are moving with the item level permissions, whether the user exists or not, is already migrated there. Or if we need to change the users with some different account, maybe user has changed. Hopefully that should also work, but I never tried, frankly saying, that one.
Okay, okay, no problem.
So here we need to pass the user mappings you're trying to say.
Yep. You can change. Yeah. Other variables also, like if like content type also what we are using, but the again one caveat here. So those what we are changing, that should support it on the SharePoint Online. SharePoint Online, they're having their own limitations. So it's not like open as a on-premises type of activity. So if you have created their own content type on the on-premises, might be those content type doesn't exist on the particular template what we are using in the SharePoint Online. So we should be careful for that. Even we can use those one, change those one also. Okay. So moving to the next one. So this was the like for the SharePoint Online migration from the on-premises. I will take that quickly for the OneDrive also. Okay. I'll close this one. That is almost done. Don't save. So this data also came
there
here.
any C# API available for that? I mean, managed code for this PowerShell equivalent managed code?
Sorry, please come again. Your question. Please come again.
Are there any managed code DLLs or anything available for this? I mean, if I don't want to use PowerShell and if I want to do it from C#.
As I know, nothing. For the managed code point of view, like you need to write the CSOM. So that is the only way, but out of box doesn't exist anything that we can use the CSOM. CSOM again is having their own threshold limits. when we are just running.
I was asking like the equivalent API for this 3 command you ran.
Yeah, nothing.
We have
It
to
just
run it from PowerShell only.
correct. It's a very straightforward. Just quite some parameters required, but as such, nothing other ways available for that.
Okay. Probably we can do PowerShell from C#.
That is the same way then again, right?
Yeah, again same
Okay.
way, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So moving to the next now. So let me go for the OneDrive point of view. Some folder structures, temp folder. So this is just like OneDrive. I'll take the example like I have one demo folder here. I just created a couple of folder structures. I will just treat this demo as my file share. I have a couple of files exist in that. So like each folder is having all the files. I'll just explore. So I will just taking whether it's a network drive or my file share. I need to take this content. I need to move my OneDrive. So before that, I will navigate to the OneDrive and check what it exists there. I need to go portal dot office.com. Okay.
So,
I'm
folks,
just moving to the OneDrive. Yes, please.
just a message which I want to pass, Manoj. So folks, we've been seeing a lot of PowerShell commands and scripts. So once the session is done, the recording as well as the PPT and all the PowerShell commands which we use, so we'll publish it so that you guys can go ahead and use it for your project or for your customers, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, I'll write a blog on the C# corner. It's in process. I didn't publish till yet. So hopefully in the next week that will be available, early of next week. And I will just publish with all the commands with the detailed steps, as well as I'll give the recording also. Thanks, Vignesh, for updating. So this is just my OneDrive. So what I opened, this nothing we have. It's a blank as of now. So what I will do, I will just take that folder, the demo folder, and using the script, I will just upload it here. So almost all the script is same what we used for the on-premises to online, apart from one, because here we don't have a BAT and the dat and package files. So that we need to create using one more command. So that we will do. So I'll just use, this is the source as of now. After that, we have a temp and the OneDrive folder I created. Under that, I just need a source package, what it's going to create when we are going to create the data and package files. And after that, we have a target package. I'll explain what are those variables exist for that. I'll just open my PowerShell scripts instead of typing here again. So that will be helpful and fast one. So we have, okay, so the same one for this here also, I just need to pass the credentials. I'll close it and open it again. That will be helpful for me. Just moving the SharePoint Online Management Shell, run as administrator. I just open, paste it, just give me the command. I'm passing my credential here. It just cleared credentials. Okay, so here like a couple of variables again I have created. What is my source file path? As of now, we have a just file share. I just get the C demo. I need to push all my demo folders to the OneDrive. So that's why the source file path. I have a source package path. So it will, once I run the command, so it will create the source package for me. What we saw earlier, the data and package XML file for us and the target package. So let me create the command. This is again like a target web URL. Target web URL is nothing like my OneDrive path. You can see here. It's the same. Manoj_SharePoint times on Microsoft.com. You see here, it is also the same path here. You can see. So this is my OneDrive URL. By default, it's a document library also. So till here, I'm just going to create the variables. Yep, same. Yep. So variables defined. So this is the new command that is not required while doing the on-premises to online. So it's required to create a data and package files for us. So the new SPO migration file, SPO migration package. So it just create a migration package based on the source file that we have in our local folder or the network drive. For that purpose, we use this command. So here what we need, source file path is logically, yeah, we need a source where our content exists. And what should be my output package path? So where the XML file need to go. And the target web URL, simple. Again, the same variables where we need to move the content. What is my document library? All such things. Okay. I'm moving and taking this command. Okay, start creating. Done. Quite fast. So if you see here, source it code go. Yep. So in the source we got all the XML files for us. Okay, it's the same command. Now is almost the same command what we use for the on-premises. The reason we have a file, we have a packages. Now need to convert into the target web URL point of view. It will take the source file path what we have all the XML all the content in a demo folder. So it's like the same one, source file path. So it's a C:demo. It's the same variable here. So after that we need the source package path, where my XML file exists. Just now what I created. After that it will move to the output package path. So this is like it will generate as per the URL, as per our target sites and the library point of view, those XML files. And after that, nothing like the same web URLs we need and the document library path. No other variables, just a credentials, straightforward command. I'll move here. I'll just take this command, Control C, Control V, straightforward, running it. Let's see. Just press start processing. So we can start looking here, the target. Yep, good. So we have a target also now. We have a source also. So both targets. So this target is required. So once we got the compatible package of the files, now we need to move those again files in the package from here to the Azure storage. And then we need to run the jobs. Then job will take the content from the storage and push to the OneDrive path. Okay. So just moving to the next step. So this is also the next is the same. So here I am not creating the container, just for the showcase point of view. If you are not giving the containers, it will just create the GUID for us, and internally it will take care. So I just give the Azure account name. Azure account name is same. What is the storage account name I created, and the access key is required, and the queue name. So I just give the OneDrive migrations queue. I'll create these few variables. Containers I'm not creating. So we'll see how it's coming if we are not giving the containers name. Okay, so it's this variable creation has done. So this is a second last command. It just create a queue and the containers for us. It's the same. The set SPO migration Azure package source. What this command is required? My source file where we have a actual content exists. It's required the source package where our all XML file which is having a relationships. And what is my Azure queue name? It should be an account name and account key. So I'm not giving the containers. It will create on its own some GUID structures. So that's all here. So I'll run this command. Okay, so start processing. So if you'll see, I'll let it complete. It will take a couple of more seconds, quite fast. We'll go to the Azure Blob Storage and check. Very good. Okay, done. Quite fast. We can just run. It's created the container for me, file containers, package containers, and the queue URI also. If I move to the Azure portal.com, I just navigate to the online storage, what the storage I created. Yeah, now I move to the blob storage. So in the blob storage, you can see the two GUIDs exist. If I didn't give the name, it will just create a simple GUID with the name of naming convention like file and package, so we can identify. So here we'll see all the content, what I need to migrate, it's all are there. Okay, similarly, we can go to the package. It will show all the XML files. So now another things we can check the queue. I move to the queue. Yeah, that's great. We have a OneDrive migration queue, but it's not started now. We need to push the queue so that it can create a job and start doing. So the last command is basically a submit the package so that the jobs start working. It's again like the submit SPO migration job. What it requires, it just need a couple of parameters. Target web URL against which site we need, whether it's a OneDrive or the online, and the migrations, what the command we ran earlier for the SPO migration Azure package, that variable, and credentials, nothing else. I'll just go there, run this command again, submit SPO migration package. Quite interesting. Okay, so it just done, created the GUID for me. We can check the status against this GUID, or we can just run this again, like the get SPO migration job status. It's nothing, it's required the target web URL and credentials for us. I'll just do this one. We'll see what is the variables, the status of the job. If it doesn't show anything, it means it's done. If show the processing, is the job is running. So we can go back again to my queue. Blob storage we have already seen. We have a file package and the file folders and the package. So this is the container. It has created the queue. All are in job processing mode. So let it wait for some time. We'll browse the OneDrive also. If you need to see on the command also, we can just run the last command, get SPO migration job status. We can see here the status again. If it's processing, still processing. If it's nothing comes here from the job ID to target object, it means the job has done. Okay, I'll move to the file OneDrive. I'll just refresh it. Let's see, content is coming here or not. Oh, great, we got the content. So it start in processing. Still the 3 folders we have. Content start coming into the OneDrive also. So we have Microsoft Flow. So we have migration. So all content start coming here. Okay, so this is the way, like it's very straightforward and very few 3 to 4 commands exist. We can easily move the content from the on-premises or a file share to the OneDrive to the SharePoint Online. So now the questions comes like, is it like really required to move the content because it doesn't work on the site level, how the tools we can do the mapping for the web level or the site collections level, or we can do the tool with the item to item or the library level. But here it works for the at least list level or the library level. We can write the multiple PowerShell script and schedule it. It will start working parallelly accordingly. But we need to define logically if we are using the lookup columns. That is important here. Okay.
So Manoj, for large data like terabytes of data, how do we properly architect it so it goes fast and it goes without any issues?
Yeah. So that's why the answer to the like what we discussed earlier. So just before that only. So it doesn't work because on this particular scripts. Let me browse it again. It will help you to. Let me open this one. So what we can do here, we always need it just work on the item URL level. So if we have a large data like the terabyte of site collection or the web applications or entire farm is having a content, what we are using the content DB attach and detach, and the tool is like the keep running the jobs. So it works only on the document library and the list level. It's not like entire site we can migrate. If need to do migrate, we need to do one by one or need to write some jobs in the PowerShell only, which will start creating the jobs on based of the particular on-premises or the file shares type of path. So if it's work with a multiple, so the same like that job will again create a small packages for us. It will work in that way only. It's not like straightforward we can do entire site collection with terabytes. What the limit of the site collection document library or the list at the on-premises or the OneDrive, the online should also map with that. If SharePoint Online, anyway, it's almost the same. We were talking about the 2013. So it's work if like more than that, so that we need to logically divide again then those content.
And is it good to have multiple Azure storage? I mean, is there any limitation on Azure storage? Like, let's say if I have 10 terabytes of data, so
nothing. You can see the Azure storage is not really required. Multiple Azure storage. Under the one Azure storage only, when we are running the commands for the multiple document libraries, we can create the multiple containers and multiple queues. So
okay.
That is more than
so queue is the main logic of it. So if I have multiple queue, it will be in a parallel job.
Makes sense. That's true. Absolutely right.
And in the queue, does it go sequential or parallel? So let's say if it is only one queue and I have, let's say, 1,000 files. So does it go one by one, or even that is going parallelly?
No, there is no relationship we are defining in any of the script among the queues. So each script is having their own queues, which is again one queue is creating their own multiple jobs. minimum 8 and max to max 16. It's just running parallelly. Queue also creating the job which is running parallelly. Each queue is having independent activity which work in asynchronous way.
So one job might have, let's say, if I have 1,000 file queue, it will have, let's say, it created eight or 10. To the sake of discussion, it created 10 jobs, and each job is having 100 files. So then each job will run in parallel.
Correct. So again, the question comes like if we have a dependencies on the list and libraries, so that we need to logically take care for that.
Okay. So all the dependent things should go first, and then we can do parallel.
Correct. Absolutely right.
So that's in our logic. That's not something Microsoft will take care of.
Yeah, as of now, it's not there. Basically, what they designed these scripts for the on-premises, like file shares to the OneDrive. So it's designed again for the on-premises to the online also. So even all the tools also, what we see, they also have their own internal scripts using basically these type of commands only for running.
So this 8 to 16 job which you said, is it something the Microsoft itself is taking care of, or we have to pass it, like create 10 jobs, or it's not something we can pass?
No, Microsoft only taking care. We just only can pass the parameters as a parallel is there. Nothing like number is there. So just it's create, because I didn't pass any parameters in my queue. So it's just creating for me also 8 to the 10 jobs.
Okay, so we need to pass parallel at least in that, right?
Yeah, we can pass or not also fine. I didn't pass, still creating for me. None of my command is having that one.
That will go parallel.
Yep, that's true.
Okay.
Okay, so this was the demo for that. I think we have already crossed. I'll just quickly take the time, still we have a 20 minutes. So that was the demo how the online and on-premises things are working here. So you can see here all my content came on the OneDrive also. So we can just find out the errors also if you need to check. So each queue is having their own, here we can find the dot error and dot warning files, all files here. Okay, so now moving.
Manoj, Aishwarya here.
Yes,
I just had one more question. Yeah. The only iterate this through each say library or list, and then put some logic in our custom PowerShell script to do it iteratively for every such element in the site and do it right, or else we should go for a professional tool. In that case, they would have already incorporated all that logic. Is that what you're trying to say?
Absolutely right. Makes sense. That is absolutely true. It's like that only.
Okay. Yeah. And the other question I had was on the cost for the storage. So let's assume I have 10 terabytes of storage on-prem, and I'm going to leverage this route. So one way is to use the Azure storage associated with my O365 tenant. Or we can have our own, separate Azure storage. So now, in terms of estimating the cost, so how much should we estimate, for the Azure storage? Would it be 10, or all these packaging files would add on, more load? So should we go to say, double the on-prem content and estimate the storage based on that? Do you have any practical experience with that?
Cost-wise, it's just like only the storage cost. It's very minimal also for terabytes that we need to go through and check. So cost-wise, I'm not aware how much actually the cost will come. So that is like only the
example, we are estimating it for our customer, and we have 10 terabytes, and we'll need to include this cost of Azure storage. If it's 10, we can calculate that. If it's going to be double, considering there is a lot of XML and stuff that it is creating, the jobs are creating. Of course, we won't have all the 10 at one go. So it might be lesser for each iteration. I just thought if you had any practical exposure, you could consider that.
Not to that one, but I can just show here to my subscriptions. Just almost 20 days back, I created this one, and I just used couple of time will all those almost 50 MBs files or approximately 100 MB files. It's hardly just came for me the 20 rupees. But cost, like we need to go through with the MSDN articles only what they have. So that will help.
That's going to be very complicated, because the time it is going to keep the file is the time it will bill us. So yeah, I mean, you have to go on guesstimates rather than Or the best way we used to do is like we created another subscription in our Azure. So that subscription dedicatedly was for migration. So that way, at least we can count the bill, whatever the bill we got. And that way we did the migration costing.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, so moving to the next one. So it's just like a couple of 1 or 2 slides. It's not so boring, hopefully. So we'll just hear what my focus on. Like we have. Okay, let me move there. So see, what we feel when we are giving the estimations, like we have a 10 terabyte of content. Okay, we just hardly just say simply we have a 10 gig of content. It will take a 1 day. Speed of migrations or 5 GB for a 1 day as per the tool capabilities will go. So it's really not like that. So we should go into the system and go through the one of the discovery phase. So what it helps us to find out the type of content we have in the system. If we talk about the SharePoint list and items attachment we have, so because it's a very small items working on the byte level, so it's take the quite long time. It's like we can say, this is just approximate figures. It's not like hard and fast. It will come approximately, but little bit here and there only. 5 GB per hour, accordingly it goes. If we have a large files or a document library is still having a 5 MB, 2 MB, 10 MB files, quite big files. So it just approximately we need to estimate like the 2 GB per hour, the rate of the files. File shares. Why file shares is so 5 GB per hour, not 2 GB? Because document library, maybe we can have a metadata, but file share doesn't have. It's just a simply file. So metadata takes a time. We have a versioning and other metadata that also need to apply. File share is quite fast. It's a 5 GB per hour. So if we have a large videos and audio files, it's definitely we have a big files. It's a 15 GB per hour, it's approximately the time frame. Then we can calculate. And it's also not like that. If we are going to calculate here the 2 GB or 5 GB, we have a 24 hours. And we'll just simply multiply with the 24 hours. Not like that. We just usually take a practice for the 8 to 10 hours in a day, and then accordingly to multiplying with how many content we have and how many hours it will take. So that is the way like we need to conclude like how much time that my migrations activity only take. So I'm not considering here the pre-migration and post-migrations activity, but what the actual time frame when we are doing after doing all the redesignings and all the activity when the actual migration start and we need the downtime. So here we can define how much really downtime is required for the old system to the new systems coming to the production. So this is the way like how we can analyze. So next one also the quite interesting. So what I feel like in most of the projects internally in organizations and other organizations, people skip that one also. So how the versioning matters. Okay, so what this slide says, if we have a 10 document, okay, and each document of a 10 MB, so what the size we have internally is 100 MB. Okay, so this 100 MB, it's not like we can estimate we have 100 document, 10 document, and each size of this. So my document total size of this only, not like that. So the versioning is also how much major or minor versioning enabled. So that is also required. If we have a 10 MB of the one file, we have a 10 versions, that is a major versions or minor versions of each files, and we have a 10 document, it's become the thousands MB for me instead of the 100 MB. So this is also the way we can write a PowerShell script. It can create the numbers for us, how many document with which versions and what is the size. So it's not like really need to go deep into the system. We can just write a very simple PowerShell script and just give all the results very quickly to us. So how many type of documents, list and libraries, what the size is there. That will really help. Instead of simply putting the numbers, it takes 2 days or 3 days or 5 days, which is not justifiable when the business justifications come or the actual business architect or technical team come into the picture. So that will really help to convince the customer. Okay.
So Manoj, just one quick question. So on the document version impact, which you are explaining, right? So this is applicable only from when I'm doing from on-premises to online, right? When I'm doing for on-premises to on-premises, I believe the shredded storage would be taking care of all these things, right?
No, again, the two things come from the on-premises to on-premises. Are we using the content DB attach and detach? Then nothing need to worry about. So it just depend on the size. And if you are using the tool also use the same mechanism internally because we have it's not move the final content. It just take the first versions and then put, and then again take the second versions, create the second versions. So internally, how it stores, like the SharePoint is like a shared storage only, but it work in the same way. So whether we are using the tool or using the on-premises to online using this PowerShell script. So this is just estimations way how need to do.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now this is the last slide. So this is quite interesting what we face. See, when everything goes smoothly, pre-migrations activity done, migrations activity done, post-migration check also done, business is also quite sometimes happy or not happy, that's depend. Because business also using the old environment when we're moving to the new environment. So there is always some feature depreciate and pros and cons always come. So depend on the users how ready or how easy for those guys to adopt those things and what features we are giving for adoption purpose. So, but apart from that, the users migrations, or like if old site we have, in old sites multiple domain user can access the site in one organization. It's like that is like very normal phenomena also. Organizations having a multiple domain exist as per their department areas, regional settings like domain A, domain B, domain C, anything. So each user is going to access, but in the new domain, when we migrate the site on the new, with the new, what we say, it's a domain name only on the site. So the only that particular domain users are easily access the site, but other domain users no. They are just hardly feeling when they start typing login, it doesn't work. So what is the way how we can check like other domain users can also start working? So there is a 3 ways, if you can see here my slides. So we have a if old domain and the new domain, if you both Active Directory domain having a trust among them, have a two-way trust is exist. The sync word is not correct. It's a trust if it's there. So there is then no need to do anything. We can just type the domain name / username semicolon. It will start working. I have wrote the blog also on that. I'll showcase. So it's a very clear like how it's work. And the second one, if both the domain doesn't have a two-way sync, if it's having a one-way sync, then we need to do the people picker profile, people picker control configurations. So MSDN is having a lot of PowerShell commands, not like the quite commands exist. We can do the people picker configuration. So that accept the other domains user also. If none of the old and new domain doesn't have a sync anyway, we need to go through the user profile synchronizations with other domains for the other domains. Then those users can start accessing the site. So this is the like we face in a couple of projects and people forget and business also start irritating of those things. So this is the like things we need to take care and we need to put in our early proposal state only. It can be the scenario and we need to go through these other particular stages if it doesn't exist. Okay, yep. So the last slide is just like limitations. This MSDN also having a quite good articles and the limitations what exist in the package size and file size. It's having 2 to 4 GB of the package and the file size. And the Azure storage also you can see it's like 5 terabyte. It provide even for the blob single blob containers, tables, and queue. The limit as of now. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thanks everyone for your support. If you have any questions, you can type in the chat or you can ask here only. So still we have 8 minutes. We can discuss.
Manoj, at the end of migration, does it clean the data in Azure blob?
Yeah, it's a PowerShell script exists for that.
Also, we have to do it. I mean, it's not doing itself.
Yes, not itself. Nothing works in itself. So we need to run the remove jobs command. Something is exist. We need to run that one. It will just delete after that.
All right. Okay. Okay. And yeah, and then I think somebody has also asked the question about logs. So my question was about logs only. How easy is it to download the logs and you know?
No, logs. I didn't find any way we can download the logs. We need to check here only. The logs need to check here or using the PowerShell commands we can check. But these logs, nothing as such we can download and just do the filtering on base of this particular error and warning. So it just shows here only the fatal error comes or the errors, all the warning file. For that also some PowerShell scripts exist.
All right. Okay.
Let me open the chat window.
Manoj, hi, Pratik here again. This is again regarding migration. So, the PowerShell script, does it support delta migration, or will it, for example, something goes wrong? So,
Yeah.
is it that the entire job will fail, or how things go ahead?
Yeah, quite good questions. It doesn't have any parameter which support the delta migrations. So delta migrations is nothing, but only like the things if we are change, because as it's retain the metadata for us, if we are changing any properties in the source, so or in a destination, the source will take care. But the conditions when if we have migrated only in the on-premises or OneDrive, if business didn't change anything and they change only in the on-premises or file share, we can run this command again. It will update all these files. But if they start using both the systems and they start changing, then no way. So like because if we are run the commands again, it will again overwrite what the changes they did in the OneDrive or the online. But as I said, there is
So
no.
it will run for. So it will run for all items whenever we run the command.
That's true. That's correct. There's no such parameter for the incremental.